Welcome back to CTV Morning Live. It's 9:18. Time for Ask the Expert. JB Robillard is here from Robillard Hearing Centers. If you have questions about hearing, yours, someone you know, someone you love, we've got all kinds of answers for you today. All you have to do is give us a phone call, 613-789-6559, extension 2803. 613-789-6559, extension 2803. You can also email us or Facebook us with your question today. Be happy to answer it. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Let's, first of all, we're going to talk about your website, which is hearingisbelieving.com. That's the website where you can find a simple hearing test, right?
That's right. We have an online hearing test. It's obviously not as thorough as a clinical test, but it's a simple pure tone test, and it's really designed just to create a little more awareness of hearing loss. It's very simple to do, and it's somewhat indicative of a hearing loss. I mean, typically, if you've got your speakers calibrated correctly, generally it will pick up a hearing loss if one exists. Yeah.
I would guess that a lot of people who do that or call you or set up an appointment are questioning whether or not they have a hearing loss in the first place, right? Because it's one of those things that it's called acquired hearing loss, correct?
That's right, yeah.
That over time you start to notice certain things that you can't hear anymore, or you're wondering, well, maybe.
Yeah, with an acquired hearing loss, it's typically insidious, so it tends to really creep up on you. And so sometimes it's a little difficult to realize that you're having difficulty hearing. Normally, it's those around you, your family, or your spouse, or your friends, that become aware that notice it. They become aware that they.
Yeah, you may not notice it yourself.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, again, it's insidious, so your hearing ability tends to dissipate over a number of years, very often, unless if it's sudden, which does occur. But most typically, most acquired hearing losses are very gradual, so they creep up on you. And they're deceiving as well. So very often they tend to be specific to a certain frequency range, a certain hearing range. And so that implies that you're hearing certain ranges, certain frequencies very well in some cases, and others not so much. And
is it safe to say then that acquired hearing loss is more than anything age-related?
Yeah, generally it's wear and tear, if you will. So I think two common factors are age and as well as noise exposure. Those are your most common factors. It's kind of like it's kind of like your eyesight. I mean, over time your eyes tend to deteriorate.
Yeah.
And that's right. And you may need some eyeglasses. And same sort of thing with your hearing ability. Over time it deteriorates, and if it deteriorates naturally, then very often the solution is amplification, is hearing aids. Once it gets to a certain severity.
Yeah, and that applies to anyone with any level of hearing loss, correct? Like there are devices out there for everybody.
That's right.
No matter what level we're talking about.
Absolutely. The hearing aids are very specific. So they're typically designed to address a specific hearing loss, a specific type of hearing loss. For example, there's high-frequency hearing aids designed obviously to address a high-frequency hearing loss, but they vary greatly, and so they're generally very individualistic.
One of the things I think that troubles people about the whole idea of a hearing aid is the stigma that goes with that, and I think that's gradually dissipating. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that stigma is severe as it used to be.
It is. I agree with you. There is a bit of a stigma associated with hearing loss, and we kind of touched on it. I mean, it's related to, it has a strong association to age, and it's also an admission of an impairment, which oftentimes people tend to resist.
Well, it's like when you get to the point where your driving skills diminish, right?
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You start to feel it doesn't feel too good, but it's nothing to be ashamed of.
No, it's not. There isn't anything to be ashamed of, and I like the analogy of eyeglasses. I mean, we all eventually have to wear eyeglasses or have something.
Most of us.
Most of us. Yeah. That's right. And it's the same thing with hearing loss. I mean, typically it develops with nearly everyone.
Exactly. I mean, I've gotten to that point, and it's a joke. I mean, I make a joke about it. What are you going to do?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
I need glasses to see. What I can see is your website right there.
That's right. So here we have our online test. And so if we click on that button, start the test, okay, and now you're preparing for the pure tone test.
Right.
Now you can go through the results and answer some, go through the entire test, and also at the very end, you end up answering just a few standard questions that we like to ask our patients when they come in for a hearing evaluation. And what our website also offers is the opportunity to communicate with an audiologist. So you can actually send your results to one of our audiologists, to one of our clinicians, and they can go over the results with you online, and just create some dialogue.
We're just listening to. Do we still have some of the tones? Hey, listen. Oh yeah.
That's it. So it's a simple pure tone test.
Yeah.
You know, it's obviously not as accurate as as a clinical test, but again, it is indicative, and it's a good introduction to a full hearing test.
I think if you take this test, it might indicate to you that you need to take it a step further.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe I do need to go in for that test with an audiologist.
That's right.
And find out more.
And at the end of it, of course, if you have any questions, you can email them to one of our clinicians, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah. Speaking of questions, if you have any this morning, that's why JB is here. Why don't you drop us a line? Ottawa.morning@cdv.ca is the email address. You can also ask questions on Facebook. And even better, call us, 613-789-6559, extension 2803. That's 613-789-6559, extension 2803. We'll talk more and entertain your questions about hearing loss with JB Robillard from Robillard Hearing Centers. Coming up, we'll be right back.